Welcome to Best Wellness Interviews, where successful people share their attitudes on wellness and key strategies that they use for their health and well-being. I'm Kristine Best. I'm a singer-songwriter and a wellness strategist, and I'm your host. And today my guest is Tiffany Sims. Welcome to my show, Tiffany.
Hi, Kristine. I'm so excited to be here and for us to chat today. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you've got an interesting story, but I'd love you to introduce yourself and who you are and what you do.
Yeah, hi, I'm Tiffany Sims. I'm a holistic wellness coach. That means that's just a fancy way of saying that I look at you as a whole person, not just your weight loss, not just your health, but as a human who is trying to create harmony between their health, their relationships, and the way they earn money to be a whole, complete person. And so I really focus on helping lifelong dieters heal their relationship with food and exercise so they can create that harmony in their life.
Awesome. And your life wasn't always just a bed of roses, right?
No,
And
I'm a
I guess your life story kind of got you into where you're at now. Would you like
yes,
to share a
ma'am.
little about what happened to you, what prompted you
Yeah.
to make a change in your life? Where were you at that time? What was happening?
Yeah, so it's just like every woman I have ever met, our lives are so multifaceted, and there's so many different nooks and crannies where something impacts a future version of you. And so one of those things was when I was 10, I went on my first diet. I worked out with Richard Simmons and Barbie in my living room, and I had been on and off of Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, Nutrisystem, South Beach, Atkins, Cabbage Soup, all of the
Oh
diets,
my goodness.
all before I
Yeah.
was 18. And I think
Wow.
that's a really real and relatable story to a lot of women.
Mm.
And throughout that time, I never lost weight. I just gained more and more weight over time. And that led me down a path of developing a binge eating disorder, which I had to check myself into an outpatient clinic for because I didn't know what else to do. I knew that I didn't have control around food no matter what I did. I could not stop eating. And while in treatment, I realized that that wasn't the solution either. Things actually got worse. And the doctors would say things like, well, your weight's going up. You must not want this bad enough. You're just lying to yourself about what you are or aren't doing when you go home. And
That's
I
not the right
remember,
way.
right? And like, if you've never experienced something like that, and you've only ever studied what you learned in a textbook, I can understand why someone might feel that way. Because the maths, like the textbook theoretical equations of weight loss, calories in, calories out, the maths, right? But what I learned over the next decade is that the reason those things never worked at the time was that the theoretical math of weight loss didn't take into consideration that I was a whole human,
It
a
treats the
human with,
symptom. It
yeah,
treats
they tried the symptom, not the
the
root cause of
cause.
my challenges.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because I, like many other humans, had a whole lifetime of coping mechanisms and habits and patterns that were holding me stuck. And when I look back, a lot of my eating challenges was that I had learned at a really young age when my house was chaotic and there was a lot of turmoil between my parents and stuff. I learned that food helped me regulate my nervous system.
Mm.
And so I didn't know that then, but that's exactly what was happening. I was looking for ways to soothe myself when everything else felt confusing. And
Comfort
that just
eating.
developed. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I developed that over time. And that was something that was never discussed in any of those diets or
And
weight
it's
loss
quite
meetings.
subliminal, isn't it? It's not something that you consciously did or knew that you did. It's happened
No.
subconsciously, quite subconsciously, right? And so because you didn't know
Yes.
what caused it, you couldn't deal with it. You couldn't fix it.
Right. Yeah. And instead, in when I went through the outpatient eating disorder program, Kristine, it was a lot of I had a nutritionist who gave me the exact things to eat, which that restriction and that all of the energy that went into that actually made the binges worse. It's almost like telling a little kid not to touch the stove, and they're like, what will happen if I touch the stove? I can't stop thinking about the stove, right? So like tell someone they can't eat and only eat these
Yep.
things,
Oh, I
and then
just want
where
to
does
eat
the
it all.
brain go?
Yeah, I get
Yeah,
it.
I'll just eat everything, and you don't want to, so you feel
That
guilty and
is a
shameful, and you are mad at yourself all the time.
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy. I love that. Yeah, don't touch the hot stove. I just want to touch
Don't touch
it.
the hot stove. Well, what can you think about?
I
Nothing
want to
but that
find
hot
out.
stove.
Yeah, yeah. The
Right.
curiosity of it and the
And
lure
even
of
if
it.
it, right. And even if it's not, I want to find out what it's like, you're constantly repeating to yourself, don't touch the stove, don't touch the stove. So I got the fly. Sorry about that. Talk about
That's
real life.
We'll have to do a blooper. I like that.
You can leave it
Just for
in.
the
It's fine.
viewers, there was this
Oh
big
my goodness.
blowfly, and it was really annoying.
He's just been flying around here. I think
Uh,
he went that way now. But yeah, when you tell yourself to not do something, it constantly lives
Negative
on
nightmare.
repeat in your brain. And so when it's constantly repeating in your brain, it's the only thing you can think about, and it creates resistance. And the pressure, it's almost like a pressure cooker. That pressure isn't released until you actually eat the thing you've been telling yourself for the whole week that you weren't allowed to eat. So then it creates that binge because you've been restricting yourself.
It's kind
And
of like
so,
abstinence and abstinence, and it's like torturing yourself. And it's kind of like that. And I don't want to torture myself. I'm going to eat it. So I can understand the cycle.
yeah. And so then you eat because you're sad because you're fat because you eat.
Yes, it's a
Right? And so
vicious
it's
cycle.
just years of this vicious cycle.
Yeah.
And at one point, I was watching, I will never forget this moment. My best friend and I were sitting on her couch and we were watching her wedding video back. And I was the maid of honor. And we're watching this wedding video, and there is this girl in a bridesmaid's dress who I did not know. And I remember thinking to myself, I knew everyone in the bridal party. Who is that? And it wasn't until the eyes crossed paths with the camera that I realized it was me.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, everything in my body stopped working for a second. Like my heart stopped, my stomach dropped. And I remember taking that deep breath, and something in that moment clicked where it was like, everything we've done to this point hasn't actually helped us. I've got to figure this out on my own.
So
And I
you'd
put my blinders on.
lost connection with yourself.
Yeah, I guess. But it was that moment where I was like, I've got to figure this out on my own. And that's when I dove into learning everything I could about weight loss and nutrition and exercise, because I was trying to save myself, because I knew that if I didn't figure something out, I wouldn't be here to tell the tale at the trajectory I was going.
So you were pretty down
And
at the
then
time.
oh yeah, I was over, I'm 5'4". I was well over 200 pounds, and
Wow,
not
that's
that
big.
weight.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's not that weight is really matters. I tell my clients all the time, like the scale doesn't, you don't need to get on the scale.
Mm.
The scale doesn't tell you how you slept or if you ate your vegetables or if you moved your body. Like it means nothing. But just for visual reference, like it was really unhealthy. And I was angsty and my body hurt all the time, and I didn't have energy for life, and I was constantly consumed by thoughts of food all the time. It was a really bad place. And when I look back, never in my life did I know that all of those trainings and certifications would one day lead to the path where I left my job as a nuclear chemist and started a wellness company with all the things I learned to save myself.
And now you're in a position to help others through your experience, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Because the health system as it is treats symptoms, and that's the same for a lot of ailments that people have. They don't treat the root cause. Then the doctors aren't trained to identify a root cause. They're trained to identify symptoms, and put it to a condition.
Yes. Right? Let me take care of the immediate thing. Let me triage what you
Mm,
came in here for.
mm.
And if I don't really know what it is, I'm going to blame it on your weight. The reasons this hurts, the reason you're having this problems is because you need to lose weight. And it's like, that's not always true either.
No, it goes deeper than that, as you've shown. Yeah.
Right?
And everybody could be a
Like,
little different for why they're where they're at. And it's discovering that thing. That's the key
yeah,
to unlocking the problem
yeah.
and, yeah, and helping them get free of it.
And really seeing people as whole people instead of, and stop slapping a band-aid on a gunshot wound. Like, if
Mm-hmm.
there was a bullet in my hand right here and you just put a band-aid on it and cleaned it up, it could look really pretty, but under that band-aid there's still a bullet. Things are still getting infected, things are starting to get pussy, and soon that band-aid's going to get soppy and it's going to start get messy around the edges, right? So then we just wipe it up again, wipe it up. That's the new diet, the new pill, the new shake, the new something or
Mm-hmm.
another, to
Mm-hmm.
mask the thing for a second. But no one ever helped you take the bullet out.
That's right.
And
And it,
so,
and it
like,
does fester. It does fester, and
it,
it
yes,
becomes a worse and worse health problem. And it can affect people's muscles. It can affect their gut. It can affect various parts of their body. It could cause headaches. Yeah, but once you get rid of the root cause, all those things start to dissipate because the body's very clever. It can heal itself given the right circumstances, right?
fancy that your body knows what to do, right?
Yeah.
And it, and
Yeah.
it's so funny, 'cause people say so often, like, oh, no, 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 you don't understand me, not my body. And it's like, actually, think of all the
Oh,
times,
yeah.
like right now, you and I are talking, our bodies are pumping blood, we're breathing, we're blinking, our body temperature's being regulated. There's no conscious thought in that.
No conscious thought whatsoever, all done subconsciously.
All done subconsciously. And so I really honed in over those years of realizing that health had nothing to do with the size of my pants, how much I weighed, how fast I could run, but it was really the ability to create harmony between my health, my relationships, and the way I earn money. Because together, if those were in harmony, then I was a whole healthy person. But if they weren't, then I wasn't really healthy. Because even when I was at my fittest, I was terrified of food. Being scared to eat isn't healthy. Not caring about how you feel in your body, not healthy either. If you're not taking care of yourself with work or at home, well, then your habits in the other areas are affected. And so, like, we're whole people. And so I think it's time that we start as a society treating people that way and really helping
Absolutely.
them, right?
Mm,
Helping them regulate their nervous system after years of stress, years of trauma, years of coping, some of the hardest seasons of our lives. Help them reset their autopilot so that when life is lifing, the habits that we do unconsciously in survival mode are that of a healthy human rather than those coping mechanisms we developed. And that's how we end up thriving and get to be our healthiest, best self.
absolutely. You have to look at the whole person. And
Yeah. And
I kind of don't like the term holistic because it's overdone and overused and abused. But yes, looking at the whole person is the key because it's not always one problem. It could be a combination of different things that have caused where they're at.
yeah,
But you got
you
to
know, when
pick,
we
you got to pick the thing that's the prime cause and work on
gotta
one thing at a
actually
time.
ask people. You gotta ask people. You gotta get curious. You have to investigate.
You have
And
to ask questions. That's right.
I think that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about our conversation that you and I had last week when we were just chatting was you talked about your approach in the physical therapy world, about how you were looking for all of the other things that led to the injury, led to the strain, and really helped people heal themselves from the source while also helping them overcome the injury that they were having. They
Well, you still got
had.
to treat the symptoms because they've been there for a long time, usually, when people finally come to see you. So you've got to treat the symptoms. But if you just treat the symptoms, like you said, underneath that bandage, all the pus is starting to build up. And so, yeah, you have to treat the root cause. Otherwise, the body cannot heal itself. You've got to give it the right circumstances. So you've got to
Or you
remove,
just repeat history.
well, you're just repeating it. That's right. You're just prolonging and it will actually escalate and get worse and worse. So you have to pull the plug on the thing that's causing it. Yeah.
Yeah. While also addressing the thing that's currently bothering them, right?
Yeah, if something's bothering them, it might not be the root cause. You got to get through that as well. So yeah. So that's awesome. What would you say is your greatest moment of joy when you've helped someone? What is the single best thing that stands out in your mind?
I mm, it's the moment the women I work with realize that they don't need someone else's plan and opinions to figure out what works for them, that they get to write the blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
Because so often we're always looking for the external. What's the right meal plan? Just tell me what to do. But it was never the thing you were struggling with. The thing you were struggling with was learning how to listen to your own intuition and learning how to
Mm.
trust yourself and learning how to interpret your body when it's giving you these different cues and signals and flags. And when that locks in for someone, it's like all of a sudden that superpower is unlocked because now they get to trust those signals and cues in all of their social situations outside of just their health and well-being, and they're no longer wondering if they're being dramatic or too sensitive. They actually learn how to take that pause to go, all right, something's not right. Let me survey the situation. What's going on? Because sometimes it's a skill. Sometimes it's these are not the right people for me. Sometimes it's like, oh, I've grown. I'm no longer aligned with this group of people or in this container, and I need to replant myself. And so, like, when that thing clicks in, all of a sudden, like, the world of possibilities opens up and I can literally see her life change in that moment. It's so magical.
And it's rewarding, makes you feel good.
Yeah, it makes me feel like we're actually making progress to saving humanity. And I know that that sounds dramatic, but I truly, truly, to the core of my being, believe that if we can help women free up the mental load that is consumed by what she did or didn't eat, should or shouldn't have eaten, all of the things that are about her physical health for her following everyone else's meal plans and protocols.
Look at the
And she,
internal.
yes, and she's able to generate her knowing from within and free up that mental space and just be present. All of a sudden, she has space to be curious. All of a sudden, she gets ideas and she actually has the mental capacity to explore them.
You've opened
And
up
she
her
can,
creativity.
yeah, that feminine energy, that feminine space of creativity and life and birthing and creating. And that's when she gets to discover what her unique gifts were that she was put here to share with the rest of the world. And I truly
That's
do
yeah.
believe that if we all step into that power, have the ability and space to step into that,
Mm.
we would live in a different world.
Absolutely, because when you pass that on to one person, they can pass it on to somebody else, and they can energize and inspire others to do the same
Yeah.
thing. You know,
Yeah. And you know what else happens is you learn different words and phrases to teach the tools. And you allow other people, you are able to hold space for other people and teach them how to be curious for themselves, not tell them what to do, but guide them through the process of learning how
yeah.
to make decisions for themselves.
There are a couple
And
of
that,
key things. Yeah, there are a couple of key things that you've mentioned in what you've been saying, and these are themes that have showed up in the last few interviews I've been doing.
step one,
Yeah,
how that happens.
it is really cool because it shows how important it is. And that is to pause, to have space where you can think and feel and come into yourself. You've got to have that space. That's one thing. And the other one is, I guess, that being honest with yourself and being open to new or to learn something. And taking the first step is always the hardest. And people refrain from doing that, from oh, that'd be scary because it's something different. I don't know about that. And I'm scared to start on that journey in case I stuff it up or something, for whatever reason, they hold back. And instead of taking a first step towards a solution, they stay stuck. And sometimes that creates a depression and things like that. So there are a few things that people have to do. They have to take that step to find someone who's going to help them. And there's another thing you said about being in a group with people who don't understand you or that put you down or keep you where you are. And you need to get out of that group and find people who are supportive and want to help you up, give you a lift up, and they're positive, and so that
They inspire you to raise your game.
that's exactly right. Everybody can inspire someone, and you don't want to be with people that are naysayers and, oh, you can't do that, and you're no good, you're fat, and blah. You don't want people who give you that feeling or that impression. They might not say it, but the look of their eyes might tell you that. You know what I mean? And they look down on you, and they treat you differently to other people. And if you feel uncomfortable, you've got to get out of that group.
And that goes, I think that goes the same for when you're in circles of people that might be like encouraging you to go after a new level. If it's coming from a place of insecurity and ego,
That's not good either.
like I didn't know there was a difference until I experienced what life was around people who genuinely were working on becoming their best self and just naturally lifted everyone else, like that rising tide raises all ships, versus the other environment that I had been in for years, which was everyone was getting ahead, but it was to like keep from being at the bottom and being someone else's dinner. And so it was out of survival mode that people were getting better and climbing the ladder or doing things differently. And it was just pure survival. Something is so different when the people around you are just truly want what's best for themselves in such a way that they want to bring other people with them.
And they're not competing against anyone else, just themselves.
There's no competition. Yeah.
No.
No competition, just pure love and challenge, or healthy challenge.
Because it's so rewarding when you get back in touch. So it's about aligning your subconscious and your conscious. So your conscious mind is saying, I got to do this and I got to do that. And other people say, I got to do this and I got to do that. But your unconscious mind is saying, or your unconscious mind is saying, no, this is who you truly are. And your heart is telling you, this is who you truly are. Because your unconscious mind and your heart are really the seat of the essence of you. And that's what you need to listen to. And when you listen only to your conscious mind, that is what you've learned. That is the conventions that you've been brought up with, the rules of the house, the rules of society. This is the kind of job you'll get because you're this kind of person, and you can't get out of that. But so that what other people's expectations and the limitations society puts on you and your friends, the church, the school, your workplace, they all have an impact on who you become or who you think you are. But you can break out of that. No, that's not me. This is me in here. And in my subconscious.
So
and you've got to get back in touch with that part of you, because people ignore that. Your heart is telling you, you need to be doing this kind of work, or this is a dream, and this is the desire of your heart, and that is what you should be doing, because it really lights your fire. It makes you feel good. It makes you tick. So that's what you need to do for a job. Why are you doing a job that is not rewarding? I don't like doing this job. I hate this job. Follow your heart, pursue your dreams. Don't listen to people who tell you can't do it, because how do you know unless you try and do it? You should at least try and fail. And even if you fail, you can fail 10,000 times. But what about the 10,001 time that you try?
But is it really failure if every time you try something and it doesn't work out, if you take the lessons learnings
No,
to try
it
it
just
again.
means you're missing a piece of information. You need to learn it. So you've got to figure
Yeah.
out what that thing is. It's a learning
Yes.
lesson. It's not a failure, good lesson. It is a failure. There's something you're missing. You just got to learn it.
Yes. Everything, I truly approach all aspects of my life, whether it's with my health or my business or my relationships, as constantly being curious about what's working and what isn't, and
Mm,
what tweaks can I make, almost like being the scientist of my own life. What observations can I make? What hypotheses do I have? Which things do I need to debunk and demyth and are no longer serving me?
mm,
And then what do I get to do with this information?
mm. So it's about reflection. That is where, and that's having that space to think and feel and be able to have a good perspective on all the different aspects of your life and to look at it from a different angle and what if, and you can look at all the what ifs. You've got to have that space, that time to reflect on what has happened, how it's working in your life or not working in your life, and what is it that's not working, what do I need to find to fix this, and you go searching for that. But you've got to pull back from being busy and filling your life with stuff and where you ignore the problem and you push it to the
Oh,
back of your mind. You actually have to sit down and be honest with yourself and face it.
yeah.
Yeah?
Yes. And not from a place of judgment, not a place
No,
to beat
no,
yourself up, but from a
no.
place of love and compassion and wanting things to be different. It's like
Yes,
for that reflection, like you said, but not from a place to shame yourself, but from a
no.
place to like, I want to do things differently. Let's take inventory.
Yeah. And it's about what your thoughts are, because if they're all negative, well, your life's going to be, let's face it, pretty lousy. So if you think positive and you think, look, I can change the way things are. I'm not happy with myself at the moment, but I'm not going to beat myself up. I've done enough of that. Today is the first day of the rest of my life, and I'm going to make it better every single day. And if you have that kind of attitude, then you're going to get better. And you will look for the places where you can find what you need to know. Yeah. And be with the people that you need to be with. Yeah. All of those things. Just make changes every day,
Oh,
positive
so good.
changes. Yeah, you and I are on the same page, and I love that. And I love your analogies. They make me laugh because they're so true. They depict the situation. I love it. Yeah. No, they're really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell me, what's your diet like now?
What's my diet like now?
Yeah, how's
Um,
your eating habits?
yeah, they are in tune with how I want to feel. I I truly start every day with asking myself how do I want to feel later? What's available to me? What do I need? A lot of times it's sometimes if I want something, like I had ice cream earlier. I had ice cream with my dinner, and because I really I found these mint chocolate chip avocado based cream bars because I have a dairy challenge. So good. And I was like, Tiff, I know you're a grown up, but like ice cream doesn't equal dinner. So I was like, all right, have what I want, add what I need. So if I want the ice cream, I know I need vegetables. Otherwise, I'm going to be hungry in an hour. I know I need a protein because I know that I'll be hungry in an hour. And I'm having the ice cream sandwich. So and it's the end of the day, I probably don't need a carb since carbs are for energy. And so I just check in and I pay attention to how my body feels and what it's telling me all the time. Over the weekend, here's a really good example. Over the weekend, we went out and it's been a long time since I've had a cocktail. And we had a cocktail and we had tacos and they didn't have corn tortillas, they only had flour tortillas. And there's something about the additives in flour tortillas a lot of times that upsets my stomach. And I was like, it'll be fine. And the next morning, I was lethargic. I was grumpy. I was like, had trouble like getting myself motivated. And I had a split second moment where I was like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with you, Tiffany? Get it together. And all of a sudden, I paused and I gave myself compassion because I know if how I'm feeling right now is the results of something that's happened in the last 72 hours. And so I paused because something wasn't right. My body was giving me signals. And I was like, Tiff, you had a cocktail last night. You had flour tortillas last night. Your body is probably just a little unhappy with the choices you made. So what do you need? You didn't eat any vegetables yesterday. And so I started my day off with a big bowl of vegetables for breakfast with some protein and black beans and lettuce and squash. And I started my day and I added a lot of extra water that day because I knew I needed to flush some of the stuff that was making me feel icky right back
Mm.
out of my system. And so it just starts with learning your body, learning to honor what different food groups do. I have a plate here, my handy dandy teaching plate. So, like most meals of mine, this is what they look like. Half the plate is vegetables.
Mine
I
too.
fill half my plate with vegetables.
Yep.
And then I add my protein and I add my carb. And then
Yep.
I add avocados or cheeses or dressings or
Hmm.
nuts
Yep.
to bring it all together.
Yep.
And so that's usually the base of everything that I eat. But I don't follow a diet. I don't teach my clients to eat a certain way or to count calories or track macros. I believe that when you start with your veggies, your protein, and your fiber filled carbs, you learn how to eat for your body, and your body tells you what it needs.
The trouble is people don't listen to their bodies and they eat the wrong things. But as you practice healthier eating, and if it's fresh and it's straight from the grower's market or the greengrocer, then you're going to be eating much more healthy food, and you buy your food from the butcher and you buy good quality meat, because if you buy cheaper meat and it's got all chemicals in it that help to preserve it, then you're eating stuff that's unhealthy for you. So the more natural your diet, the better off you're going to be. And I like the fact that you've got half your plate full of vegetables, because that's kind of
Huh.
how I eat. I think that's an awesome way, because that's where all your nutrients are, really,
Yeah.
most of them. And you get your protein and iron from the meat that you eat. And you don't always even have to have carbs. You don't necessarily need to have carbs. And the reason why
I
people,
think it depends on the person. I think
well, it
that
depends on the person, yes.
it depends on the person, and I know that I do need carbs in the beginning and middle of my day. That carbohydrates are my body's preferred source of energy.
Yeah.
And if I don't, fiber filled carbs, you know, bananas, fruits, oatmeals, toast, rice, those are sweet potatoes. Those are the carbs that work best for me.
Hmm.
And so I think it's getting to know, it's that giving yourself time and grace to get to know your body
Yeah.
and how it responds to the things that you're eating.
Absolutely. And the more in tune you are with your body, the more your intuition kicks in, and you go, your brain starts to, your eyes will see something. No, I don't want that. And
No, that's not
be,
for me.
yeah, that's right. Because you're building up this, well, you're building up your intuition, you're building up your knowledge base, your habit, and you're in tune and with your body, and you're not ignoring the signs. And,
Yeah.
you might think, oh yeah, I want those lollies, but I'm, the sweets, the candy, or whatever it is you call it. Yeah, no, I don't need that. It's like,
Well, sometimes it's not even that. I find that it's like when you get really in tune with how you feel based off of the foods that you're eating, you learn that there's certain things that trigger uncontrollable munchies for you. And it's like, it's not that I have a discipline problem or a power problem. It's that whatever is in that food that I bought off of that shelf is causing a chemical reaction in my body, which is causing my hormones to spike off in different ways that are causing the uncontrollable,
mm,
endless hunger. And so, like, you know what? Every time I eat that thing, whatever it is for you, I don't like that I lose control of my eating. That's not a me thing. That's not that foods thing. And that's just no longer for me. So I'm good. Thanks. I'm good. It's not
yeah.
for me. It's not because it's bad. It's because I don't like the way it makes me feel. You know what I mean? And when
Yeah.
I truly believe that when people start making those connections, they start making different choices, not because someone told them it was good or bad,
Hmm.
but because they're basing it off of how they want to feel.
That's a good way to look at it, actually, that you don't have to follow a regime, because regimes can be like so strict that you just want to break it, right? And that's where you
Don't
can
touch the
get to.
oven, don't touch the hot stove, don't touch the hot stove,
That's right.
right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And it's okay. I know that we live in this world where it's like you can have everything in moderation. It's okay for you to say, like, that's not a food for me anymore. Like, that doesn't work with my body. I'm good. And you can treat things as if you're allergic to them because your body's having a reaction to it. And so, like, if that works for you, great. That's not for my journey today. That's not for me today. And
Yeah,
I
that's right.
reserve the right to change my mind.
Yep, that's yeah. You shouldn't beat yourself up over stuff, and there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of chocolate or a little bit of ice cream, as long as you don't eat it several times a day every day. It's it's about you know having a few little treats here and there if that's what you like, but not making that a focus. It's kind of something little special that you do once in a while, and the rest of the time, 90%, 95% of the time, you eat well, healthy food. So your body can handle 5% or maybe 10% occasionally.
Mm,
And that way it doesn't become a problem where you've gone without it for so many days or weeks, and yeah, as you said, it's the hot stove. I want to touch it. I want to find out. I want to eat it. Yeah,
yeah.
so you've got to find a balance.
Yeah, I really truly believe that it comes from learning to listen to your intuition and learning what all those things mean. Because then it's no longer a game of like 80% healthy, 20% bad, or living life. And it's just like you get to live your life every single day and you get to trust yourself to make the best decisions for you in those moments based off of the day that you're having and the day that you want to have. And that in itself is what I have found to free that mental load where
Mm,
people, you actually get to be present in conversations and present at social gatherings and present throughout the different parts of your day because you're no longer doing that weird healthy bad math that we did in our head for so many years of like, oh, I can't do that today because I ate such and such yesterday. And it's like, how, what do I need? I know I need vegetables. I know I
mm.
need protein. And you know what? That ice cream isn't for me today. Or, you know what I mean? Like, your stomach knows,
People
every
people have
single
to
one
get
of us.
people have to learn from someone who has the knowledge of what they're doing, because it's not always that easy for people to just slot into this person who
Oh, it takes
can.
time.
That's what I'm saying, and they need a guiding hand to take them through that maze to bring them out the other end, so that they,
Yeah.
oh, I
It
get
takes
it.
time.
Yeah,
It takes love. It takes grace. It takes just the
forgiveness,
ability to
forgiveness of yourself
forgiveness,
or others, even if
who
that's
you've
what the.
been,
Mm,
right? Like accepting that so many times women want to be upset and beat themselves up with over who they were for allowing themselves to get so for it to get this bad. And I am just like, that woman
forgiveness.
got through some of the hardest times of her life. Those were her coping mechanisms. We don't
Hmm.
need to be mad, but we can say, thank you. These skills, these patterns, they helped me through some of the hardest times of my life,
Mm,
but I don't need them where I'm
now
going, and it's
that's
okay to
exactly.
leave it where leave it where it's at.
Yep,
It's okay to develop new skills and to
that's
leave
right.
the old ones in the past
That's a good way to put it. Yes.
as we continue practicing becoming the person we want to be.
Yeah. Perfect.
Oh, thank you so much for having me and
Yeah,
having
I'm
this
really I'm
conversation
really
today.
pleased because you're coming from a different angle to other people that I've interviewed, which is really cool, because you have your style, you have a way of helping people that's a little different, and that's great because that's your unique selling point, isn't it?
Yeah,
You've got a different way of helping people, and that's good because there's somebody who needs you, and
yeah.
hopefully that person's going to be listening to this interview and they want to look you up.
Oh, thank you so much.
No, I think you're awesome, and that your heart is in the right place and you are helping people.
Thank you, Kristine. And I just really enjoy just the open conversations that we've been able to have over the last week. Cannot wait to have you on my show and hear your nuggets of wisdom for
I'm
my
looking
audience.
forward to being on your show as well. And I've really enjoyed our conversations. And you're fun. I like that. And playful. And
Well, that's good. I only know how to be myself.
no, that's a good thing to be. It's awesome. And you've had to do your work to get to that point too, right? You've had to go through, looking at yourself and making those changes to change yourself first before you could actually help anyone else.
100%.
And there's a lot of work goes into that, right?
It sure is. But you know, once you do it, it makes it so much easier to share it with others, especially when you come from a place of healing, like from your healed self versus coming from trying to help people from your wounded self. It just lands different. You have different tools, you have different words. You are able, like I mentioned a little earlier, you're able to guide people through their journey, not just tell them what to do.
Mm.
And that's what makes it sustainable, because I can't be in your pocket everywhere you go. And so I need to let me teach you the tools for you to
Mm.
be able to do exactly what I would have done for you, for yourself.
Yeah, but they use the tools themselves. They
Yeah.
apply that knowledge that you've given them. Yeah. There was something else I was going to say then. Now I've forgotten what it was. Oh, I guess it'll come to me if it's important enough. But isn't that annoying? You think, oh, I've got to say that. But never mind. I'll save it for your podcast when I'm
Perfect.
on yours. um, it's the journey. And oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say. It is about the journey. And what's really good is you're a coach and you've had firsthand experience. And so you know what it's like to be down there, down low, and you know what it takes to come back up again and how to do that. You've been there, done it. So that's very valuable because you're never ever going to judge anybody, right?
No, no,
Because that's not,
you are very true. You're very right in that.
yeah,
There is a different level of being able to hold someone accountable and say things that because you've experienced it, like say the things that people need you to say when they hire you as their coach, the pushing part, the really holding the line for someone while also holding space for them to navigate it. That just comes from that knowing of really knowing what it's like to be in the shoes that they're in.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You have empathy for them. And that's really important because that's, in a lot of cases, when people go to the doctor has no empathy. In a lot of cases, hasn't got the empathy because it hasn't been through what that person's been through. So
Yeah.
they don't fully get it. And that,
Yeah.
and the important thing is that you're doing it from a place of love and care because you don't want people to actually go down the tube, down the spiral. You don't want them to go to that place where you got. You want to prevent them from actually getting there.
Yeah. I want them to be able to fire me. That is actually my ultimate goal, is that I give you everything, excuse me, that I am able to teach you and share with you everything you need to know, that when our time is done, you don't need me or anyone else
Mm-hmm.
to help you be healthy, that you
You,
have it all.
you are
But I do.
actually empowering that person.
Yes, that you have all the things to do this on your own and to continue what we started. However, I hope I created such an experience for you that you want to stick around and continue growing and lifing together in
Mm.
other ways, because you recognize that there's so much more to life than what you've experienced to this point. So let's do that together. You know what I mean? But
Mm.
my whole goal is that you don't actually need me when we're done. Because that was one of my biggest pet peeves about the health and wellness industry, is that as
You
soon
have
as
to
you
keep
stopped
going
hiring the
back.
personal trainer, or as soon as you stopped paying for the shake, that you went back to where you were. Those
Mm-hmm.
results weren't yours to keep.
Mm-hmm.
I want to teach you how to keep your results and to live your life so that you can get off the hamster wheel, because
Mm.
life is too short, it's too precious, there's too much to experience to be trapped up here and to feel a prisoner of your own body.
Yeah, well, I'm on the same page with you there too, Tiffany. My philosophy, when I had my business in Sydney, I had a clinic then. I don't have a clinic now. But for 20 years, I saw people and I told them what I knew. I wanted to empower them so they became able to control their circumstances and not go back down that same path they were on. And I wasn't afraid to share my knowledge because that person appreciated what I did. They tell other people, right? And there's always somebody else who's not well, who needs what I do. And it's the same for you. You're not afraid to share what you know because those people will refer other people. There's always plenty of people that will be your client. I never needed to have that person come back unnecessarily. I weaned them off my treatment and let them go free. And they just came back when they felt they needed to or wanted to for a, I don't know, a spruce up or a check-in and just see, make sure how they were going. And that is a much better atmosphere. You're keeping people well. You're not keeping people coming back to you.
Yeah. I
They
want them to succeed.
stand on their own 2 feet, right? It's a much better feeling that you've helped people be independent, and those people appreciate that. So it's always going to come back to you in some way or another. And the medical profession doesn't do like, and physios, chiros, they keep you coming back. They want you to come back each week or every fortnight or whatever. They want you to keep coming back all the time. And that's not necessary.
No,
Because
I would
you have to learn how to
absolutely love.
prevent and be proactive about your health yourself.
Yes. And I would absolutely love for the day to come where we've actually healed our globe. And I say that because I usually say our nation's relationship, but with us being on the opposite sides of the globe, I globally, like, I would love to have helped so many people heal their relationship with food and exercise that I am out of a job and I have to go look for a different business model. Like, that's the ultimate goal, right? Is to put myself out of work, because that means that I accomplished the mission. It means that we actually did it. It
I
means that
don't
people
think
are
that
actually helping.
there are always going to be people who need us who haven't heeded the advice for a while, but come to a point later on, and so you'll always have a job, I think. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. It would be nice to think that you've achieved that, and that is my goal too. My goal is my vision. My vision is wellness in totality for everybody around the globe. So we're on the same page again. So you and I are very, very kindred spirits, I would say.
Yes, and I love that we do it on the opposite sides of the globe. Like, we
Yeah,
between the two of us, it is encompassing Earth,
we can spread out our message. And I'm
right?
so glad you're on my podcast and that people are going to hear, more people are going to hear about you because they need to. So
Oh, thanks for having me.
thank you very much for being on my show. Is there anything else you wish to end this interview with?
Just wherever you're at in your own journey, just remember that you can do anything if you just take it one step at a time.
Beautiful. Thank you, Tiffany Sims. It's been awesome having you on my show. I think we've talked about some wonderful things that people are going to chew on. I love to say that because, yeah, they'll chew on it for a couple of weeks and maybe it'll inspire them to do something to help themselves.
Mm.
Thank you very much.